here, Ash Crossan with Screen Rant with the team behind Queer for Fear. How's it going?
Lovely. Thank you for having us.
How has your Comic-Con been? It's weird, but awesome to be back.
I like that there's not quite so many people,
Right.
and it doesn't feel quite so oppressive. So, yay for everybody wearing masks.
Yes, yay for everybody wearing masks. I'm so excited to learn more about this project. So tell me what it is and how it kind of came together.
The show is an unofficial sequel to a great documentary that Shudder did a couple of years ago called Horror Noir, which is the history of Black people in horror films. And Shudder really wanted to continue to service marginalized communities who they know have very specific perspectives on the horror genre. And so a natural follow-up to Horror Noir was Queer for Fear. And we really have to give the credit to Shudder for wanting to do this. They initiated the project, it's their idea, and we got involved at various stages after the fact, but Shudder wanted to do this.
Shout out to Shudder, by the way. It's one of the best subscriptions that I've ever had. Every time I go on there, there's something new, something awesome that I've never even, and I'm just like, play, and it's always awesome. I love Shudder. So shout out to Shudder. So tell me all how you all got involved, as you said, various stages. So what stage did you get involved?
I got involved after there had been. I got involved.
I'm the director now.
at the stage when they had been working on it for a while, and I sort of came in to help. With just being a horror fan and a queer person, and we needed as many voices as possible to really accurately represent the community.
And then we have a mutual friend who introduced me to Bryan, and I got involved when we were going to take it kind of to another level, where we're going to change it from, it was originally just going to be one documentary, and there's just too much content. So it became a 4-part docuseries, which quite frankly, we have enough for, I don't know, a 6 or 8-part docuseries. But I got involved when it became kind of a bigger beast, and to help wrangle it all and make it happen.
I know it's early, but since you said that, is there already more that you're thinking about doing?
We have the interviews.
We have the footage.
We have the footage. So maybe next year.
Okay, cool.
And then
I'm friends with both of these fantastically brilliant people, and I would think that it was probably when State called and said, to be honest, we need women, right? We need dykes. I don't know if she used that terminology. Probably. Yeah, because we're allowed to say that. But yeah, we needed people who were female-bodied who were going to be able to talk about that particular experience. And now what I'm so impressed by is how many fantastic interviews you guys have gotten across the board.
Can you reveal who some of the interviews are?
Karin Kusama.
A lot of the horror kind of staples, Kevin Williamson, Don Mancini, Karin Kusama, Kimberly Pierce. I think for one of my favorites was we got to interview Oz Perkins about his father, Anthony Perkins, and got this very intimate conversation about not only what it was like to be a closeted queer man working in the 40s, 50s, and 60s in Hollywood and that trial, but also what it was like to grow up in the household with somebody who was living a duplicitous life out of sheer Darwinism, and how that affected the family as well. So that he's never spoken to anybody publicly on record about these things, so that felt particularly special because we were essentially invited into somebody's home, into somebody's childhood, and heard them speak very eloquently and honestly about what it was like.
Wow. So there are 4 episodes. I'm sorry, were you about to say something?
I was just going to say that it was really important for us to get a really diverse group of people, too. We really wanted to get trans people, non-binary people, bisexual, asexual, queer, whatever, however you can fit in, people of color, and different varieties, not just one kind of person. And just to get better points of view of how all these different people related to this material.
Yeah. Is each episode a different focus?
Yes.
Can you reveal what those...
We'll do it together.
Do it together.
The first episode is about queer storytellers from the origins of horror. So going back to Mary Shelley and Bram Stoker and Oscar Wilde, all of whom were queer. and up through James Whale, who was foundational in horror, created essentially the universal monster genre with The Invisible Man and Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, and all through the queer people that Hitchcock worked with. Hitchcock loved working with queers. He loved working with, Arthur Lawrence, Patricia Highsmith, Daphne du Maurier, all of these people who had a perspective that Hitchcock tapped into because one way or another he figured out that this is a very specific perspective that he wanted to tap into.
And then, let's see, I'll skip ahead to episode 3. And we'll talk about dangerous women, because we have everything from women's prison to lesbian ghosts to the dangerous women of the 90s, when it was very fashionable to be a lesbian in a movie where the lesbian was the villain. And then when in episode 4 we go into the queer male villains a lot, and we do like the 80s vampires and really talk about Kevin Williamson and Don Mancini and Chucky and Scream.
Yes. Oh, Scream's like my favorite movie.
We haven't talked about, feel free.
One of the things that was a highlight of the interview process with Kim Pierce, who directed Boys Don't Cry, and just to hear Kim talk about Boys Don't Cry as a Frankenstein allegory was wonderful.
Yeah, sure. And that was one thing that was really exciting. When you guys called me, I said, is it okay if I talk about, obviously I'll talk about Carrie, but I really want to talk about Boys Don't Cry as a horror film. And you guys were really open to that and excited. And what's very interesting to me is, so Brandon Tina, born Tina Brandon, names himself Brandon Tina, lives and loves as a man, and is moving through the world to the best extent that he can, living as his true self. And what ends up happening, he is the beautiful monster, but then he's attacked by the culture that really doesn't want to create space for him. So that's what Tom and John are. They're kind of like the shark in the water that's going to attack him, even though there's complicity all around. What was amazing to me was we needed to create a situation where Brandon's identity was constantly leaking out, so that the danger of Brandon being attacked and being destroyed was always ever present. And that's very much like a horror film, right? You're just, you know it's going to come out. If the identity is hidden, there's a gun under the table. So that was something that I had to be very careful about, and to construct that leakage so that you were always excited and terrified and moving forward in that narrative.
Wow, that's so interesting. Before I let you go, what are you just most excited for people to see? What are you most proud of when you think about this show?
I just think the in-depthness that we went into with everything, and really we didn't scratch the surface. We just dug underground, and really kind of found no stone unturned. I think we wanted to make sure, like I said, we were getting multiple aspects and multiple people's opinions, and for me, that was really exciting.
It really is a bit of a rallying call in some ways, just to not only the queer community, sexually queer community, but also to ideologically queer people. I know so many straight people who are ideologically queer and feel outsidered and othered in their own ways that are not sexual, but still we claim them as part of our community. Anybody who feels like they're outside or marginalized. And to realize that the foundational pillars of horror are all queer. Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker, Oscar Wilde, James Whale, all of these are queer storytellers. So you can't ignore how horror is a part of real queer people's lives, and therefore fictional horrors resonate with them in a greater capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I can just add, what I love about The Depth is it's a deep read, as if you're in like the most amazing class of like horror and the genre, but it's an intertextual read from the human body, from the human experience. And I don't think I've ever quite seen that. So you have all these brilliant people that they've managed to pull together who are speaking from their personal experience. And so every time I hear an interview, I'm like, oh my God, that's so brilliant. And that they didn't try to commodify it or force it into a category, that it really goes really deep and rich across the board. I mean, it's pure entertainment, this thing.
I can't wait to watch it. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your con, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.